Uh, yeah, just going back in time a little bit, after the quake that destroyed Christchurch City happened, there were a lot of commercials on TV that followed, telling the public that there are things that they could do to help themselves to cope with the stress post-earthquake. And they were basic things like, exercise daily, do something that makes you feel good daily, get sufficient rest, and time with those that you love. And I just thought, well, how many people were doing that before the earthquake happened? And what why would the public health system think that suddenly during one of the most stressful times that Christchurch and the people of Christchurch ever went through, that they were suddenly, all of these mechanisms were going to spring into place? So I think the key is that we want to develop these really good habits when times are good, so that when times are not so good, when we're facing adversity, we can draw on those resources. So it's really about consistency, or as my partner often jests, the saying is, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, not 7 apples once a week or 30 apples once a month. Or it's an apple a day. And it's those very simple lifestyle habits I found people have the most trouble with, because it calls into question how they're living their lives. Do you take time to sit down and prepare a meal in the evening? Do you take time to rest? Do you make enough time in your day to be with your family, with your friends, with your intimate partners? Are you, is this the general nature of your life? And if not, can you start to build some of those habits? So I think that having those habits so much embedded in my own life has been really, really important in being able to meet difficult moments with calm. The experience on the airplane was very rare for me. I've had many years where I've been under tremendous strain and still been able to bounce back from that because of the resource of having a consistent, healthy, lifestyle. I think the other thing that is become increasingly important, as I mentioned, is to have collegial connection and to really invest more in my friendships, and so that those friendships are intact and we can draw on each other when we need to. And I hear it over and over again from others now around the world, that one of the strongest ways that people seem to be able to refine themselves is by spending time in nature. For me, it's being in the garden, growing food, and it's about witnessing the cycle of life, which in itself gives hope that there is continuity, that this too shall pass, that nature is always going through the cycle of death and renewal, and resurgence. Spring always comes, the sun comes up, and we might not be able to adhere to that hope if we're not connecting to that cycle of life. I often, when I'm feeling like I'm not coping well, or feeling myself moving into experiences of despondency or hopelessness, I go and visit this old oak on the property. And the other day, I was having a few of those feelings, and I went and stood next to the oak. And what the oak had to tell me um, is, I will always be here. This beautiful, majestic oak says, I will always be here. Even if a fire goes through this farm, I've laid down acorns, and I could see these little tiny oak trees coming out around the oak, that even if worse happens and I'm knocked over, I've prepared for that contingency, and I will always be here. So nature really is the great teacher, and spending time in nature in whatever way you can. And I know now, at the moment, for many people, it's the hour that they might be allowed to leave their apartment or their home to go for a walk, and make the best use of that you can. Don't have your earphones in. Don't be cutting yourself off from that nourishment that you could have through feeling the air, breathing the air, seeing the sky, taking in whatever you can take in, because that is, we are nature. And by connecting with it, I think we connect to that uh, continuity of life.